Okay, hello, this is Diane again. Excuse me. Just back again, just to have a quick update about the recent referendum. Obviously, we are now post-referendum. I have David with me.
Hello there.
Hello, David. Just to raise some important issues, and so there we go. Just a summary, really, of the last video I did, the video link, and you saw it and you made some comments.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I saw that you were reading out a Revelation and you were commenting on the EU Parliament and the things that you believe are critical points to the EU and why we should leave it. I mean, do you still feel that now you've seen?
Yeah, my advice and prediction was to leave. My prediction was that it was a wise thing to leave. So that was what I was thinking of at the time. So I said it, I prophesied it, and prophesied that the majority, it would have a majority vote, and leave would be what the people were seeking.
Yes.
For independence. So that's that overall summary, and I gave you the kind of the reasons why as well, why I felt that we shouldn't vote in and why we should vote out. And my particular reasons were related to my Christian beliefs, and those Christian beliefs is overall, we're saying that God is our overall commander-in-chief, or he's our ruler and he's our king. And we're guided by him, and we're guided by what we read in the Bible.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with you there, that obviously that we have leaders, political leaders, but they should be under Christ. That's what we believe, isn't it? Is that if our political leaders are also Christians, then they'd be taking us on the same journey that we want to go on. Now, obviously, some of our political leaders are not Christians, and obviously then that's going to cause a difficulty in that they're not going to be following Christ, as far as we know. But in the general terms, as if they're supplying things to us as a nation, fair taxes, fair distribution of the wealth, looking after the NHS, things like that. I mean, things are usually okay, aren't we? And we go around for 5 years, and then we make up our mind if we wish to, change them for somebody else.
Yeah, that's right. So what I'm picking up on there then is that you're saying that at least we have a choice.
It's the choice, yeah.
A choice as to who we have or put in government, and at least our votes or our wishes are heard, and they're taken into consideration. Now, it is always the majority of wishes or
the vote.
Yeah, the vote. So the vote of a politician or getting somebody into a position of power is done by the people, and the people elect a person that they feel will run the country and do the best for themselves, one, and two, for the country.
Yeah. Because the argument that was used against the European, because obviously, I think we've got to say that we both voted to leave, because we didn't consider that the EU was a Christian-led parliament. In fact, what I'm going to say now, of course, is that in my belief is that, of course, those that were the leaders of the European Parliament were not elected. they're basically intellectual, elitist, men and women that are basically appointed by each other to these prominent positions of power.
Yeah, that's right. So on that preface, we're saying then that we have a right and a birthright, in actual fact, to be able to make decisions about who we want in government.
Yes.
Here in England, but when it possibly if the power is taken away from our own country, and it's the power resides in the EU, then we have less rights, as we've seen with various laws and various things that have come into place. And don't fully make sense, such as the shape of a banana. I think that's quite a common one. People know that. The fruit, the way the fruit looks, size of a fruit, the
regulatory things,
yeah.
But I mean,
those are the minor things, but they're kind of petty.
That's part of. I would have said that they're an irritation. That type of politics, but I don't think we can get away from the fact where we were given a vote. This particular party, the Conservative Party, said, if you vote for us in a general election, we will give you a referendum. And loads of the people that I spoke to at church and at work and in my family have all thought that was a really good idea, because it clears the matter one way or the other. We as a people, we should know where we're going. Are we going down that road, or are we going down that road? And so I felt quite happy about it. And as the referendum gradually approached on the 23rd, I was pretty certain that the vote to leave would be successful, because that's how I was going to vote. But of course, if it turned out that the vote was going to be to stay in, because I'm a Democrat, in my sense of what I believe in democracy, if that's what a Democrat, the definition of one is, of course I would have just gone with it. And yet what we've seen, and over this last weekend, I mean, I don't know if this is why you asked me to comment today with you, is that we haven't got that. Everybody is, from the TV, from the BBC and the ITV, are using tones and interviews which are all doom and gloom, and that we're going to be, there must be something slightly insane of us that voted to leave.
Yeah, and I want to pick up on that, because I feel the same and felt the same kind of air of hostility against those people that have had a right to vote in a referendum, which we never called for, we never asked for, but we were given, and we voted fairly and squarely, and made our voices heard. And now we've got an undercurrent of those that didn't want what we wanted, and it's almost like somebody having a tantrum, or it's like a sore loser, or somebody that's playing tennis, and they've played the match, and at the end of it, one wins, one loses. And generally the person that wins is they're
pleased with the thing, but they're magnanimous against the other person.
They're pleased with their
thing.
Really
well.
They're pleased with him, but they will still go to the person that's lost, and vice versa. The person that's lost will go to the person that's won and shake their hands, say, well, that was fair and square. We battled it out, and it was done in a fair arena, and it was overseen by, obviously somebody to make sure that all the rules were overseen and kept to. And that is my feeling, is that we have done this in a very fair and democratic way. And now we've got those that obviously are on the side of wanting to stay in, saying it wasn't what they wanted. So therefore, they're going to try and overturn it and overrule it and various other things. But to me, that seems as though, well, what was the point of having a referendum in the first place, or having a vote?
Well, I mean, that is the point, isn't it? So we live in a democratic country, and we want to see a democratic world.
Yeah.
And so that is our wish, and we believe that was Christ's wish, is that you have the freedom to make a choice,
make choices. Yeah.
But how do you tie this in with your faith, Diane, about what's happened at the moment? That we've basically had a victory, and yet there is nobody enjoying. There's no parties in the streets. There's no.
Well, one thing for sure, as Christians, we certainly shouldn't be gloating about the fact that we've won. And I've made a comment and I've said I'm happy that we've won. I am. I can't deny it. I am happy that is what I've voted. That's what I believed in, and that's what has come through. And I'm happy with the result, because long term, nobody knows what the future is. But long term, even being in the EU, nobody knows what will happen. We've been in the EU since 1974, correct? Is that right?
Yeah, 74, 75.
1974, 75. And we haven't had an easy ride. And I think people forget that. We have had market crashes. We have had, the housing difficulties. We have had unemployment. So to think that the EU is the ultimate thing where, oh dear, if we leave the EU, then suddenly we're going to be in this great chasm or dilemma of uncertainty is absolute pure fallacy. And it's what I feel is it's a great deception upon people to think that that without the EU we can't survive.
Yes.
And I think that is wrong thinking. We haven't had an easy ride with the EU, and so and even prior to the EU, we have managed to keep our heads high as British citizens. We have managed to keep our heads high, and we've managed to, be a world leader, haven't we?
Well, I mean, it's
in industry.
In many terms, as they say about wealth, I mean, we're about the 5th wealthiest country in the world, and what I think that I'd like just to make my comment is that what was happened to us over the last 2 or 3 decades is that we've lost confidence in ourselves, and there we're feeling now as an underdog, and I think we're actually spoken to in that particular term, even by our own governments, where they put us down. You're not able to do this, we're not able to do that. Without that help, we can't do this and we can't do that. And it's and I think that's what it is. It's we really ended up with a feeling of it was all doom and gloom as different industries were closing. This was a country that was heavy into industry of coal mining, steel industry, shipbuilding. I mean, motor manufacture. The list goes on. And of course, now we're not. Our main sort of finances now comes through the banking sectors and the insurance sectors and things like that, which doesn't employ as many people. But also, I don't think it gives the country that sort of prestige that we used to have. You'd always pick up something somewhere, and it'd have made in Britain or made in England stamped underneath it somewhere. And I think that meant something to people that we were actually
There was this, I'd like to pick up on that, because there was this quality assurance, wasn't there, with the British product. There's a quality guarantee. There is a British
Well, there used to be
standards mark, wasn't there?
Yeah.
British standards mark that was printed on every item, and it said basically, the quality of this product, it was guaranteed. And then we have had other products, and we have, we now have like this so-called open market. So we have items flooding the market and coming into Britain, but whether it's high quality or not is a different kettle of fish, because we've had a recent incident of, for example, this is an example of poor standards, which is the phone chargers.
Yes.
So you can get a phone charger that looks exactly like, perhaps say, an Apple phone charger, and we've had one, and we've had the same issues in dilemma where we've used it and it's burnt out and it's been dangerous and it's been hot, and others of where it's set on fire. So
it's substandard sort of materials, and of course then are the. I mean, to be fair, if you go to buy something, as you say, something of an Apple, and the accessories, you'll be charged, anything from £10 to £20. Where, of course, if you go to one of these discount shops, you can buy an identical piece for, somewhere between £1 and £3. And, of course, that's the choice, is that your mind should say, this £2 one is not going to be as good as the one that's nearly 20 quid. But, of course, it's you buy things like that and take your chance. But, I mean, what I was trying to just say to you, Diane, was that when you mentioned, like, you've got the British sort of standard mark that was on goods, and we all believe that them goods were the best. I think that with our humans, with us as a nation, we have that, and our Lord has stamped us with a good quality mark, and we don't believe it. It's been that long since we've actually stood up to ourselves and said, yes, this is a really good place. We've got things that we can contribute to the other members of the world. But we don't. We've really gone into a melee of not believing this and not believing that.
And I think that is one of the things that have been highlighted, is obviously, our religion as Christians. We at the moment we have freedom to express our opinions. Obviously, there is even, well, I say that, but there are certain restrictions on what can be said and can't be said now. But as a Christian, at the moment, we're able to, have church services. We're able to, preach in a pulpit. Our preachers are allowed to preach freely, whatever. There's no restrictions on them. Preach from our Bibles, so that there's a certain amount of freedom within our Christianity. But I think, and also, it's also an opening. I think Christianity is an opening to other things, so that it's kind of saying, right, okay, yes, we do have freedom. We have freedom to think. We have freedom to make choices. And at the moment, like I say, I'm just going back to that point, is that we have freedom in our religious beliefs, what we choose to believe or not believe. But will that always be, or is it going to be that, there's going to be a restriction on that? And with the lukewarm attitudes of our previous Prime Minister, I just feel that he's not strong enough to take on the EU. He is not strong enough to fight for us. And that is David Cameron's downfall, is that he had a chance to fight for us in the EU, and he failed. Okay, and I think from then on, people have lost faith in him to be a strong leader for us, a representative in the EU to get things over and to ensure that our policies and our democracy is protected.
Yes.
And we don't feel safe with David Cameron in power. And that's why he's not there now. And that's why we're looking for somebody stronger and somebody that's going to stand in that pulpit and going to say the truth and speak it out, you know, clearly as it is.
Yeah.
And not deceive us with things that are not true. So, and that's what the people have really felt they've been let down with. David Cameron has lied a lot in the sense that he said prior to, you know, the referendum about the pound, and okay, yeah, it did plummet, but is there any wonder that it plummeted? It plummeted because there was a lot of negative attitude about what would happen after the vote, if the vote was to leave the EU. So people lost faith in us. Institutions lost faith in us. But he didn't say that there would be a
contingency plan.
Contingency plan, that's the word I'm looking for. Contingency plan. He made out that it's this or nothing. No contingency plan. We will go down the pan, basically. And he lied. He lied about it. No mincing any words. He lied because there is a contingency plan. The contingency plan is that the Bank of England have guaranteed that there is money available and just to secure and settle the markets. So that was a lie. Okay.
Yeah.
And then the other issue was being in the EU. He was saying, obviously, you know, that there's lots of, you know, members
Yes.
that would no longer give us custom. And even those outside of the European market would no longer consider us as viable or
outside of it. Yeah.
outside of it. So, but that was a lie. Because the American president, Mr. Obama, has said he would still negotiate and still consider us as a strong force and a strong contender when they were doing negotiations for trade.
Trade, yeah.
So each bit is just kind of your understanding that this was a democratic ploy to keep Mr. Cameron in his present role, previous role, and to also appease the EU.
No, I think you're quite right, Diane. It's I was very, very shocked to see the attitude, especially of people like the Chancellor of the Exchequer prior to this vote, where it was all doom and gloom. Our money would be devalued, our customers, our trade would disappear, or all this sort of factories that are here would stop and move elsewhere. You know, the Germans would stop selling us cars, and the French would stop selling us cheese, the Italians would stop selling us wine, and of course it was scaremongering, and it really got to a point where you had to sort of pinch yourself to think, is he really saying this, or am I imagining this? Because he's talking his country, our country, down.
Yes.
To a point where we all were meant to felt totally inadequate, totally incapable of making our own choice and doing anything without this EU, this big governing body out there in Brussels, telling us what to do.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything. Inept.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it's all, you know, all those things. So really, what I think our final words, mine and David's, are that we're just saying, don't believe the rubbish, don't believe the lies that you've been fed, because they're proving to be, as we get a bit further down the line and post-referendum, we're finding that it's been lies just to get what they wanted to get. So the result that they wanted.
Yes.
And the result is not what they wanted. So they really are having, almost like a child having a tantrum. And it's even worse than actually that, because it feels like bullying. Bullying, we feel that we have won that right.
Yes.
And that vote. And now we feel that we're not allowed to enjoy it, not allowed to be happy about it. And we feel we're being bullied by those that wanted to stay in. And I think it's a real indictment on our society to feel like that. If it was the other way round, I'd like to know, what would happen. And if it was that, we'd stayed in and it was a majority vote to stay in, then I don't believe it would have been the opposite way. It would have been, okay, we're in,
it was,
blah, 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 whatever. But this is just a little bit more than
I think that
I can understand or believe,
No. But I'm still under this opinion. And it's a God-given feeling that we have that Jesus is with us. Whoever we vote for, Jesus is still the leader. He's still the one that we're going to.
Yeah.
This is where we live, but this is not our home.
Yes.
It's not where we end up.
Yes.
But in the fact that here, when somebody actually has a vote, we agree with it. Even though we didn't agree with it, we go along with it. And that is true in America, Canada, Australia, many other European countries, and many other places in the world where, you have a vote and you don't particularly like it, but it's the democratic way you do things. But what I was saying just, a few minutes ago was that I got a feeling that the EU was nothing at all to do with democracy. Because you didn't vote for these leaders.
Yes, yeah.
And they were saying to our leaders, as well as the other leaders in Europe, don't worry, we're in charge, we take care of everything. You just basically run your general things in your country, look after your health service, run the police, run the military, things like that, but, and the education. But really in the big world events, this is for us intellectuals and elitist members of this parliament, because we know much better than you do.
Yeah, exactly.
And to me, I'm glad we got rid of them.
Yeah, me too. And the only other thing I'd like to add is that I believe that David Cameron, after he did try to make our position on certain policies known in the EU, and he came away with nothing. And I think from that time, he knew in his heart that he didn't want to be in the EU, but he's stuck with something for whatever reason and hasn't fully believed in it. You can tell by his campaigns that he didn't really believe in wanting to stay in, but the pressure that he was under, and obviously the things that obviously he'd got himself tied into, he couldn't get out of. No. So I don't think that he did believe in this campaign of staying in. And also, we've had mentions of various other people and royalty, even, making their views known also about wanting to leave.
I think it's a valid point, Diane, that, his heart wasn't in it. It didn't appear to be. But, I think what we should end at is this feeling where what we have done is voted in a democratic way. Yeah. And so for us that have actually voted to leave the EU, we should be quite proud of what we've done. Yeah. And we think that it's for the best for the country. Yeah. But surely we should all, even those that didn't, should be feeling now, well, with Christ, let's give it a go. Yeah. Yeah. What have we got to lose?
You haven't got to lose anything, because you will be in this position where you will be made afraid of making even this vote, and yet the majority of people in this country have had the guts to stand up against the bullies that have wanted to impose something that we've never wanted. And as they've said on their campaigns, we would have been getting into a car and we wouldn't have known where we were going to be taken to until we got to the end of the journey. And it might not have been a place you wanted to be. And just one more thing. Okay, so the final thing is my prophecy to you, and I'm going to prophesy now that our lovely Boris Johnson, Boris Johnson, I believe that he is going to be the next Prime Minister. Watch this spot.
Okay.
All right, okay, David?
All right. Thank you very much for inviting me along.
Yeah, okay, and thank you for listening. Bye-bye.